Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. I am your host Oti and welcome back to another Hetty Feather review. So, today we finally find the Dawn Star. So in the last episode, Gideon spent the entirety of it trying to break down a wall with a crowbar and a chisel. He got through at the end only to find a vault, in which, once they tried to open the vault with the help of the parchment, it didn't do anything. Oh yeah, and also other stuff happened, including Lizzie is actually useful, and Gideon and Agnes have a row. So does Hetty and Jack. In fact, they row quite a lot during the episode. Hetty then goes out to spy on Ambrose, who is visiting the old butler Soames. He doesn't have any data on the Dawn Star, but he does tell Hetty that Montague Calendar was a prankster, and he would have wanted to leave something at the end of it. Ambrose, in his unsuccessfulness, decides to have a paddywhack, almost dispose of the parchment, and then, which is then found by Lizzie. Agnes and Flo were alright, until they weren't. And then Agnes nearly ended up going on an Essex rant. And it wasn't long until she too found out that the guys were after the Dawn Star. And all that was happening while Lizzie was trying to crochet a handkerchief for Ashok with his many initials. Speaking of the Maharaja, he was alright until he was going on about a horse that was going to be put down. I really should have used a clip from Phoenix Nights. Oh, that was a lost opportunity. But let's just pretend that the horse wasn't put down and then it went to some club in Bolton. And then also, Grenford's starting to feel much better now. I don't know why the fuck that is, but it's TV, I guess. And is forming an Emperor Palpatine and Anakin Skywalker-esque bond with Ashok. Guess which one is Darth Sidious? So, now it's time for Series 5, Episode 7. 'Twas a dark and stormy night, as Hetty's monologue explains, that there's nothing more frustrating than hitting a dead end. Well, I'm pretty sure some of the Autobots hit a dead end a few times, and I bet some of them really wanted to hit dead end. Oh, come on, it's a Transformers character! But thanks to the door in the tunnel, either she can turn back now or try everything until they find a solution, as she looks at the parchment for Ambrose to then emerge. She then says she's just turning out the lights and is wanting to double check the windows as the wind is picking up. She refuses to give up and she just turns the parchment around and decides to have an idea, which is looking at it the other way around. Couldn't she try this in the last episode? She then gives this idea to Gideon, who will then pass on the message. And then we then recount how they may try, but there'll always be an obstacle that they won't see coming, in the form of Lady Grenford. The old bat is awoken by lightning, as meanwhile the gang explains to one another that there is an order with the symbols on both sides being pairs, and the star symbol tells them where to begin. I've tried to explain that as simply as possible. I could just ask Copilot to do it, but I don't want it to take over everything. We flash between both Grenford and the others as Hetty assigns people symbols to turn in a specific order, to which opens the vault, revealing another room with another door! Grenford is almost out of water as well, so she goes out to get it herself. And also, could I just point out, for a moment I thought they had us there. I thought they were going to find the Dawn Star first thing. But oh no, BBC, you don't want to recreate Endgame here. Good thing too, because can you imagine my rant if it had? So they've told Edwin about the other door, and now they need to find a key. Grenford overhears this. Jack is also starting to have doubts, but his girlfriend still has faith. Guess what? Because they have to be, and they all go back to bed. That following morning, Ashok is tense because it's his birthday and the calendars don't know about this. So they've been friends with his family for generations, and yet they don't know that it's someone's birthday. He's not heard any news on the Dawn Star in weeks, which he thinks that they've been hiding from him. Lady Grenford then comes in like the nosy cow that she is and wishes Ashok happy birthday and seems to be a lot better now. She then goes out without Gideon. As there is not much to do, Agnes and Flo have a cup of tea and make up for what happened in the other episode. Ambrose then gives them the menu and grabs Flo for a quick word. He then doubles back on what he said when they aren't there to make friends, but this wasn't the case earlier. So now there is no point, and they'll leave and ransack the place once they get the chance. We then get another sympathy villain begging from Flo, and she is told to come to her senses as they will leave as soon as Ambrose says. So, Lady Grenford wants to cheer up Ashok and manipulates him into wanting her to help him more than Hetty and the others. Then she gives him the gift of turning him against the servants, in which saying that they are no more than beggars and thieves. But just in the last episode, she complimented the old butler, and a butler is a servant. A bit later, Rosamund seems to see Lady Grenford, who asks her why she's more burdened than she is. It turns out that Emily's been arrested for a women's protest, so they'll have to meet in order for her fate to be decided, while George, for some reason, is in New York. I'm sorry, but any father would rush immediately back from where he is to support his daughter. I am fucking sorry, but what the hell was... Why? Why? I mean, I know that the BBC hate fathers and men in general, but why? And then Rosamund is told to go after Ashok's birthday celebrations, which she doesn't know about, and speaks to Ambrose about important matters. It's a bit inconvenient to lay that bombshell on Rosamund. Oh, by the way, even though your stepdaughter's been arrested, it's Ashok's birthday today. Woohoo, let's celebrate. Meanwhile, Edwin can't seem to find mention of the key in Monty's book, which Ashok also overhears, and then is convinced that they are working against him, despite reassurance that the Dawn Star will be his. He wants to be shown the cellar door so that he can kick it down. I don't think that's gonna work. But they have to find a key. Flo then summons Gideon into the kitchen. Well, the kitchen is gonna be interesting now, because they've got to start lunch again from scratch, and this time it's poulet de la crème, or chicken with cream, as Ambrose explains to Gideon, because we've got to make Ambrose racist, haven't we? And a cake and the finest silverware. It would have been better if he'd have said this to Hetty, because she has less kitchen experience. So, generic cooking show number 777 million will commence right about now. Following this, Flo wishes to be left in peace to do the cooking whilst Agnes does the silverware. Ashok then goes into his room to find a tub of sweets that was left by Lady Grenford. Grenford then comes in to tell him that he's got a special lunch planned. He then says that he doesn't know what to think anymore or who to trust, so he is told to test them by claiming that he has it. He then arrives in time to hear Gideon and Hetty talk about the key and claims that he has found it. This can wait, as the key is safe in his room. Meanwhile, Flo is successfully multitasking with the food, and Agnes recognises that she is short with her, as they shouldn't be gossiping. Heeding Ambrose's orders, she notices that the chicken hasn't been in long, but according to Flo, nah, it'll be fine as lunchtime approaches. Everybody is excited for lunch, and Lady Grenford feels more than happy without Hetty's service, so soon she'll be able to leave Calendar Hall, which she doesn't like the sound of. They begin to eat and discover that it's fucking raw! So Chef Grenford sends for the cook. Wouldn't it... Seriously though, Gordon Ramsay should have been in this episode just to bury Flo. What the fuck is this shit? Right, get me the fucking cook now. So, she doesn't have time to go up there, but she does so anyway. Hetty doesn't trust Grenford, so she takes the chance to get into Ashok's room to get the key, even though Gideon strictly has told her not to do so. So, Flo arrives to hear Constance then want to give the family food poisoning, and outside Agnes and Gideon listen in. An unseen Hetty also rushes up, as Flo is about to get yelled and sworn at by Chef Ramsay. Just before that, Agnes sticks up for her friend by telling her that the food was fine. Constance also wants cake now, and Rosamond seems to have lost her appetite. So Hetty needs to be summoned and is asked about by Ashok. Can you imagine Gordon Ramsay verbally yelling at Flo while Constance just listens to some middle-aged bloke swearing and yelling his mouth off at someone? Listen up, you fucking idiot! Why the fuck did you not know that a fucking chicken was raw? You fucking idiot! I wouldn't let you near a fucking kitchen in my life, you donkey! I am appalled by what I have seen today! And if you're wondering why Chef Ramsay is surprisingly quiet, it's because A, I don't like to shout at the top of my lungs, and B, his throat might be sore from all the shouting. Upstairs, Hetty can't seem to find the key, and Ashok echoes Grenford's words describing servants as beggars and thieves, and is still under the impression that it is still there. Ashok defends Lady Grenford and breaks the bad news that it was a test, and now is siding with Darth Sidious. She then retaliates after she's threatened with punishment, and he runs away. And it's an all too tense scene in the kitchen as Flo asks Agnes why she was covered for. Apparently it's what friends do. I mean, in this context it's more of a snake. And she reminds her that they are not friends, and Agnes knows that she is lying and is there to listen to her if she is needed. Flo then later tells her foster father that she doesn't want to go, and we get more sympathy-filling bullshit, and wants to stay as she has friends now. Wait, that's not what she said in the last scene anyway. Quite rightly, according to Ambrose, one chance encounter with the past could bring them crashing down, and brings her down into the real world. Well, I agree with Ambrose with this one. I mean, if they find out about Flo, logic would dictate that they wouldn't forgive her, but this is Hetty Feather, and Hetty Feather would forgive because they've got the oh-so-tolerant mindset, I guess. So, in that night, they will be robbing the place, and we get threats that every staff member will be tied up. Going a bit far even for a criminal like Ambrose. He is a criminal, and much worse has happened. Gideon and Edwin both have seen Ashok and are told by Hetty that he lied to them as he went into his room, which was a test from Lady Grenford. This now had prompted them to search for a clue even more. Ashok praises the Emperor and offers to help any time if she is needed. She then finds out that the Dawnstar is locked behind the cellar and her help is needed so he can then go home. Yeah, imagine if that was Darth Sidious he was actually talking to.
Ashok, these servants are nothing but beggars and thieves. I should know, because I used to be one once. But ignore all that thing about Darth Plagueis. He doesn't matter.
Actually, that gives me an idea. Did you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? It's not a tale that the calendars would ever say. Jack comes into the search and is told to help by a stressed and quite gobby Hetty. They then talk to the painting psychotically, and almost all the clues have been in that one object, which they have looked over several times. But when Edwin says in the painting, this gives Hetty an idea. So she turns it around, looks underneath the material to find that there is a key within the frame. And then Gideon goes to tell Agnes and Lizzie, with Flo lurking somewhere behind the door. I'm glad that was never taken off to the auction house. Alright, so this thing here, this painting, can you imagine if it had gone to some other family? Oh, what on earth is this? What's this a key for? I don't know, love. Flo then goes to tell Ambrose as Rosamund leaves under the condition that no harm comes to the staff, which she's not going to keep anyway, and she nearly tells Rosamund as we switch to the gang in the tunnel and then back up again. Ambrose almost makes the save by saying that it's a minor problem and it's been rectified, and she acts as though it has been dealt with. As Rosamund leaves, Flo tells Ambrose the location of the Dawn Star, and they can leave without hurting anyone. Right, Starscream, I'm Flo, so I need advice from my really racist adopted father. Or possibly biological, I don't know. This show don't allow logic anymore, innit? So please tell me, what do I do?
You try and destroy him, that's what! I mean, it's worked for me all the time with my master. That bumbling idiot Megatron. But anywho, this isn't about me, it's about you. But even though, find a way to get rid of him permanently.
I ain't listening to you, you're more annoying than Hetty.
You know what, just go talk to Thundercracker.
The final scene is the main cast unlocking the door, and they finally find the Dawn Star! Yay! Ashok then comes in and is handed the Dawn Star. Until Lady Grenford emerges, as the narration says that it's never too long before something else gets in the way. So, since watching the episode again, I think that my views on Flo are starting to change now that she's really questioning Ambrose and she knows what that man is capable of or could be capable of. I just hope that Ambrose does something so insanely bad she'll finally turn face, and I don't want it to be for absolutely nothing at all, because she's friends with Agnes in one part, and then she hates her the next. Look, she should just conspire against him, Starscream did in that one episode of G1 in the second season, when him, Blitzwing, and Astro Train all conspired against Megatron. Something about the opening scene, I liked that, but I think they should have had it for the entire episode, because then it could have the message that a great storm is coming, and it could tell a story in conjunction with the main plot of the episode. I do kind of think they're a bit inconsistent with Lady Grenford's health here. I would also point out that this is the Lady Grenford that we're all used to. She's revealing her true colours. But it makes the first few episodes of this series unnecessary because wasn't she dying? There was a bit of tomfoolery when, as I said near the beginning, I thought that they'd actually found the Dawn Star, but it turns out there was but another door to pass through before it could be theirs. I do now think that some of the things that happen with the Dawn Star are quite clever with all the clues. So the parchment, the second door, the key being hidden in the picture, and as are the other clues. So the symbol that points out the Ambry. But I just think that at the end of the last episode is when they should have discovered it. Because if Hetty and Edwin are so clever, then why did she not find that out while they were trying to open the vault? You know? It doesn't really make sense why she'd just find out at the beginning of this episode. In relation to the Dawn Star, I think this episode was clever because it gave clues in ways that only a clever writer could do so. But other aspects, it's kind of lacked. I think Grenford as well, turning Ashok against the servants, is one of the aspects that stands out about Grenford. She's able to cast her own manipulative ways into everyone else's minds. And Hetty knows that this is bullshit. And Rosamund going away has given her this perfect opportunity. I'd also say that Flo now has a reason to turn face, because now that Ambrose is threatening, I think she knows that her time's up. Although I think she should really tell Agnes so that they can somehow gang up on Ambrose and then form some accusations and then oust him out somehow. Here's Cook Jenkins with Method in the Making. And at least there's some excitement here, because last episode, Kreia revealed that she had a new gentleman, and we're going to meet him in this episode. Move over, you Thatcher-loving cook. I'm here to present to you my new Sith apprentice boyfriend. I would like to welcome you. A man of whom was introduced earlier in the show, but yet didn't have that much of a chance. In fact, I doubt that he gave his previous spouse a chance at all. Please welcome Private Geordie Shaw Wilfred Sturges. Why, man, how are we doing, Kreia? Aye, yes. So Sheila dumped me after I went on this dancing competition, and then found out that I was dancing with the woman that kissed off Sean Locke. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to try online dating. And then Kreia's voice reached out to me out of the blue, so I decided, you know what, lad? Let's go with her instead. She can teach me a lot of her wisdom as well. Thank you, Wilfred. Now, Brenda, you were saying? I certainly wasn't saying anything, and I will not have that Newcastle scum in my kitchen or in my county. All right, dearie, calm down. Kreia, you've really outdone yourself this time. I mean, I know that Revan was certainly something. Me and Nihilus were just a one-off. But this is absolutely beyond anything that you have ever done at the Atreus Academy. And also, looks like you've missed quite a lot in the storyline, Private Geordie Shaw. I've heard as well, they're after some Dawn Star and they found it today. This is my segment, not yours. Yes, they found the Dawn Star at long bloody last. And it's only taken them, 7 episodes? I bet Sheila regrets leaving Calendar Hall now. She'd have been all over that diamond thing. She certainly would have. but diverse Jedi apprentice Lizzie had no contribution to the storyline whatsoever, apart from just being on the side. And it turns out the key were in the bloody painting all along. That is clever, I have to say. But bloody hell, he certainly did like to take his time with stuff. Bloody hell, it's as if he didn't want it to be found at all. And the Dawn Star just looks like a generic crystal. I mean, it could be turned into a kyber crystal, but I don't know if our law really permits that. Let's just say it doesn't. Now we have Lady Grenford getting back up on her feet and manipulating. I wonder how she's feeling better all of a sudden. I mean, if she wants to get out to Calendar Roll, thank God for that. But if not, then I think she reminds me of somebody. Don't you, Scion? Oh yes, I'm looking at her right now. Careful what you say, Scion. Oh, hey, you two. I'm just glad I wasn't at Calendar Hall to witness the return of Lady Grenford. I mean, the Maharaja whiny prince was bad enough, but Lady Grenford seems like an absolute nightmare. You should have seen Matron Bottomley. If you'd have thought that Grenford were a nightmare, then Bottomley was a bloody day in hell. Or an eternity, to that matter. But the more important thing that happened during this episode, Flo messed up in the kitchen. In the kitchen. My paradise. My hunting grounds. Bloody hell. I'd have thought that would have happened with the dementia Biden cook. Not a young, stunning and brave lady like her. I mean, yeah, she is a sympathy villain, but she wants to play victim nearly every bloody episode. I would like to offer her some advice. Once you are at the dark side, there is little attempt to leave it. It stays with you for the rest of your life, and then once the past is brought up, there is no escaping from it. Believe me, I have first-hand experience of this myself. On a lighter note, though, if you want... Look, Flo, I know you're in a bit of a difficult position, personally, but just get away from him, alright? You know, tell the coppers to come, lock him up, and then be on with it. But the more important thing is, she served raw meat, even with Agnes's concern. That's not what a proper friend does. A proper friend actually listens to the other. Anywho, that's the end of this episode of Method in the Making. I've been Cook Jenkins. Let's pass you back to OT. And I'd like to thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all later. Ta-ra!